Emilia has a button that can end a fight in one cast, but using it against Frieren might be the fastest way to lose. Why? Because Frieren's real edge isn't raw flash. It's centuries of spell knowledge, ruthless analysis, and the right tool for the moment. Emilia brings a storm. Frieren's seen storms for hundreds of years and knows which spells cut through the clouds. So what happens when overwhelming force runs straight into a mage who can always pull a new page from the book? And what if Frieren never gives Emilia the space to breathe, let alone cast? We're weighing Emilia's area control and healing against Frieren's versatility and experience. Stakes on the board: battlefield control, fatigue, and the gamble of holding back your win condition too long. Which philosophy sets the pace? Let's open the dossiers. Profiles, pressure points, and one closed loop. That's the lens. Start with Frieren. Her edge is time turned into mastery. She's a living archive, centuries of spells learned, refined, and recalled on demand. Not just power, proven judgment from a mage who helped Himmel, Hyder, and Aizen bring down the Demon King, then spent the years after dissecting what battles really cost. Reputation: Demon Slayer. Approach: keep options open, pick the cleanest line, and let experience cash the check. Now Emilia. Ice brand arts, Huma barriers, stacked like panes of safety glass, ice soldiers that regenerate and body block, and spirit healing via her contracts. She's a half-elf who's eaten bias and kept moving. That stigma hardens resolve. Leadership scales her decisions because people and spirits trust her calls, and her stakes are concrete. As a royal selection candidate, she fights to become the 42nd monarch of Lugunica and unfreeze the residents of Elior Forest. She locks the field. Healers don't just heal. In her hands, they reset fights. Emilia's space control is nasty. Soldiers force angles you don't want and convert clean lines into bad trades. Barriers layer, redirect, and make you pay a toll for every step. She pushes you to move, then punishes the route you take. Frieren loves the opposite rhythm. She breaks patterns, shifts ranges, and plays long where stamina and recall grind opponents down. Whose pace rules? The one who makes the map expensive. If Emilia pays heavy mana to keep every lane frozen, Frieren wins the receipt war over time. Frieren's road here starts after glory. Demon King gone, she learns what time steals: faces, feelings, small moments. Her quest becomes connection, but the craft never dulls. Spells are her diary entries, each one a memory, not a flex. That's why she's calm mid-cast. She's done the homework 1,000 times and keeps a niche answer for almost any shape of problem. Emilia's road is pressure, half-elf stigma, pieces of her past sealed away, a promise to help anyone within reach. She grows into leadership because no one else can carry that hope. Spirits answer resolve, not arrogance. When she calls, they show. That's unmatched resolve, and it turns support tools into the ultimate expression of power. Here's the weakness map. Frieren can underrate now power spikes. When a foe stacks a sudden buffed art, that first burst can crack a stable plan. Her breadth is so wide that she can default to familiar lines, and a determined opponent can target those patterns. Emilia, meanwhile, can burn mana fast when she tries to hold a giant field. Absolute zero East reserves, and even her layered shields tax the pool over time. Frieren exploits time and option density. Emilia exploits distance and denial. That's our closed loop. Experience sets patterns. Patterns get punished by unconventional routes, spirit-assisted pivots, off-tempo barrier drops, soldier rotations that flip angles. Ice meets archive, and the next layer is simple. How do they turn these profiles into win conditions without opening a window for the other to press a trump card? Win conditions and trump cards sit on a hair trigger here. The question isn't who hits harder, it's who sets the terms that let the finisher land without giving one back. So how does Emilia stop Frieren's long-range spell volume without draining herself dry? She doesn't chase the beams, she makes them pay rent. Frieren wants attrition, varied elements from a deep spell list, tight angles, and centuries of combat sense that keep her patterns hard to read. That's her win path. Grind the meter with versatility and force Emilia to spend premium mana on basic answers. Emilia flips that with barrier layering and soldier rotations. She plants a wall, lets soldiers body block and reform, then hands the healing off to spirits. so her own pool stays ready for spikes. Ice constructs force the wrong answer at the wrong time. Beam, she sends a density barrier. Scattershot, she uses a flexible dome that bleeds force sideways. It's spell volume versus battlefield lockdown, precision versus pressure. And right here, Emilia isn't trying to match shots. She's turning the map into a toll road. The tension sits on timing. Free Ren's rid on combat flow, baits overcommits. Emilia's soldier screens erase clean lines and turn snipes into trades. Free Ren pivots across elements to target weak points in formation. Emilia switches to hard angles and forces Free Ren to reposition. Every second, one of them is choosing tempo, and tempo decides cost. Research-wise, the mobility edge matters. Emilia's Ice Wings lets her pivot around her own barriers and re-angle a threat, like Absolute Zero, without wasting the cast. She glides, she snaps the barrier into a hinge, and the line of effect adjusts mid-flight. Free Ren's breath fills gaps, fire when she needs heat, ice when she needs halt, light for fast shots, and more. She pulls niche answers on command because she's banking centuries of edge cases. Both have a giant red button. Free Ren's trump is recall under pressure. She reaches into an absurd repertoire and retrieves the right spell for the exact geometry in front of her. Emilia's is Absolute Zero, the reset button that wipes positions clean at a brutal cost, freezing the atmosphere into a vacuum where even time stalls. Who wins? The freezer or the spell book with endless options? One stops motion, the other stops choices. Build the plan. Emilia plays for windows. Soldiers stall and buy frames. Spirits refill what she spent to keep the barriers healthy. She scopes for a pocket where Absolute Zero will conceal without cooking her reserves. And she prefers captures, not kills, which nudges her toward control-first sequences that can extend fights. Now, Free Ren denies windows. She interrupts cast timings by quarter beats, cuts off the support chain that feeds the barrier, and forces Emilia to microcast instead of channeling a big art. Now the range question closes. Emilia handles Free Ren's reach by turning long lanes into dead zones with stacked barriers and living screens, converting precision strikes into healable trades. Stakes spike off that answer. If Free Ren tags a support link, the instant Emilia pivots a barrier, the path opens and attrition takes over. If Emilia stabilizes and shapes one safe pocket, the trump card gets a trigger. We're at the threshold of the ordeal. The exchange, where counters tell the story, and one clean read decides who blinks first. So we shift into the ordeal proper, a battle toll encounters, where each cast tests whether control or breath calls the next beat. Can Free Ren crack the ice phalanx before Emilia finds a clean trigger for Absolute Zero? We open with silence. Free Ren leans on breadth, steady, varied firepower that comes in clean lines and tight angles, switching elements and speeds to probe for gaps. Emilia responds fast. Soldiers slide into a wall, shields curve to bend the flight paths, and the lanes warp. Shots decurve, threats glance. Free Ren notes the bend and keeps walking. She swaps to pattern breakers, thin beams that stagger in odd cadence, tether-like spells that extend, faint slack, then snap back. Emilia splits her troops into Regan cycles, frontline tanks, backline reforms, and the barrier edge acts like a hinge. Every second bought is a frame she can bank for a bigger arc. Free Ren doesn't bite. She paces, cycles through options, and shaves the clock. Mid-fight, Free Ren tests the support chain, not with gadgets, by targeting the obvious link where healing and formation meet. She angles shots to force the soldiers apart and aims follow-ups at the moments when spirits would need to cover gaps. Emilia feels the drag and offloads to secondary spirits, then kites with Ice Wings, skating around her own curvature like she's running track on a glass stadium. The heal resumes, the wall breathes again. Tempo resets by inches, escalation hits. Free Ren pushes a direct fire sequence, heat and blast in a compact rhythm to stress the ice line and punish the curve. As spiderweb crawls across the barrier, Emilia flash freezes vapor into a new layer, fog snapped hard into a shell, buying just enough casting frames to keep the phalanx intact. The crack sits there like a dare. Close call one. Emilia whines, Absolute Zero. You can feel the vacuum form, air pulls wrong, sound narrows, spirits brace. Free Ren read the swell and staggers a misdirect. A harmless flare touches the outer shell, forcing Emilia to cancel early to avoid freezing her own field. The reset costs her, but it doesn't break her stance. She grits and glides. Free Ren lines her own finisher. Trajectory clean. Emilia feints collapse, lets the soldiers lunge as if they're desperate, then knifes the distance on ice slides while Spirit Heel patches the baited gap. Free Ren's shot scrapes armor instead of heart. The map feels smaller. Options feel pricier. Here's the insight you asked for. Area control seesaws. Free Ren wins wherever she can create open lanes. Emilia wins wherever terrain corrals angles into her hinge. And Emilia's ethic matters. She prefers captures, not kills, which nudges her toward control-first sequences that extend windows but delay lethal commitment. That's why both trump cards stall. Which one lands first? Neither. Both get stuffed by perfect counters. The fight compresses to timing and nerve, with every cast now a bid for a single, uncontested beat. And now the field changes character. Free Ren's pressure has boxed Emilia into a pocket, mana thin, barriers showing fractures like stress marks on tempered glass. From the outside, that's checkmate. But Emilia's zone isn't a prison, it's a mirror. The walls reflect lanes back at the caster and shrink Free Ren's approach vectors to her own pattern, which means the next move looks free for Free Ren. It also means she may be walking into the exact setup that turns a small opening into the deciding play. Final verdict time. Free Ren wins the map and loses the moment. Emilia baits the anti-summon burst, seals a pocket with her barriers, then fires a micro absolute zero. Not the full field, just the air hugging Free Ren's next cast. The spell chokes mid-gesture. Lanes vanish, momentum flips. That's battlefield IQ meeting sheer force of will, backed by documented raw power on Emilia's level, scaling near the original Roswell and flexible ice brand arts that let her shape the win condition. Both are monsters. Free Ren's breadth and Demon Slayer pedigree are real. The winner is Emilia. Instant petrification versus instant restoration. Who actually breaks first? You click for Boa Hancock versus Tsunade, and you're in the right arena. But before we crown anyone, answer this. What happens when one touch overwrites your body into stone and the other rewinds lethal damage on the spot? Can Tsunade even act before Mero Mero lands? Or does Hancock crack when her charm can't end what refuses to stay down? This isn't just about who wins. It's about what happens when two I don't lose powers try to overwrite each other. Does the Mero Mero no Me lock the state on frame 1? Or does Creation Rebirth erase the lost condition entirely? Let's define the absolutes and set the rules of engagement. Two absolute buttons on one screen. Hancock turns desire into stone. Tsunade turns death into a reset. Which rule of reality wins first? Hancock's Devil Fruit is a status overwrite. If your mind flinches, lust, or a slip in discipline, she fires Mero Mellow, and the body calcifies on contact. It's not about how tough you are. It's about whether your state flags the condition. From there, she layers control. A wide cone for instant checks, slave arrow that fragments and spreads petrification on impact, and pistol kiss, projectiles that carry the same threat at range. Add armament and observation hockey, and her pressure sticks. She forces respect with every glance. Tsunade answers with pre-committed survival. Strength of 100 stores chakra ahead of time, then auto-caches it as Creation Rebirth when damage lands. Cells restitch mid-strike, bones realign, organ failure gets erased before it becomes a lost state. Her precision chakra control keeps the power efficient, while Kachu lets her distribute healing as a network and share loads across clones. Then the hammer falls, chakra-enhanced strength that shatters dense targets and turns a tag into a win condition. Here's the friction point. Instant status versus instant restoration isn't symmetrical. If petrification is damage, Tsunade rewinds it. If it's a transformation that suspends biology, her restore may not even boot. Think software. Petrify is a status lock that bricks the OS. Creation Rebirth is system restore. If the OS can't launch, your restore can't fire. We do have a hint of behavior. Hancock's stone has reversed when the emotional state stops meeting the condition, implying the effect tracks a mental flag. Tsunade's healing autoprocs off lethal harm, including organ rupture and near bisection, meaning her system is aggressive and fast. So the core question is simple. In cross logic, does Tsunade's heal treat stone as injury, or does it fail against a non-biological state? The asymmetry sets the stakes. If it's a transformation, she must prevent the condition, not fix it afterward. With the absolutes defined, we need hard edges. How each woman enforces her win condition in real combat. If Hancock needs one compromised heartbeat to win, can Tsunade ever be caught in that frame? Hancock's lane is control. She weaponizes status with Miro Mellow, forces checks with a wide cone, then peppers the field with slave arrow shards and pistol kiss snipes. She layers Haki on top, armament to make every kick bite, observation to track intense shifts, and the aura pressure that makes opponents hesitate when they should move. One lapse and bodies locked. That's the cell. Tsunade builds a fortress. She preloads chakra, releases the seal, and lets healing trigger on impact. Creation Rebirth turns lethal into keep swinging. She triages the field with Katsu, offloading damage and maintaining comms level awareness, then cashes out with a straight punch that deletes dense targets. She keeps clarity through pain and regulates her mental state with tight chakra control. Her kit says, stay in the pocket and break the problem. So who blinks first? Conqueror's pressure can rattle untrained wills, but Tsunade lives in crisis mode. She's a battlefield commander who treats noise as background. Hancock needs an emotional flag to light up. Tsunade aims to offer none. Hancock's offense flows. Cone for instant condition testing. Arrows to force multi-angle dodges. Haki-infused strikes when she gets in. Agility to circle and keep the sightline live. She makes you manage too many variables at once, hoping for that one slip. Tsunade's defense stacks. She averts or muddies line of sight, uses debris and dust to cut angles, and keeps Kachu between her and persistent harassment. Sealing knowledge gives her options to disrupt charm vectors, while sheer pain tolerance keeps her focus stable under sudden spikes. Her strength scales to threats that demand hardened targets crack, and her healing has restored catastrophic damage in stride, letting her trade without fear. Durability won't save you from petrification if the condition hits. That's Hancock's ace. But in a live open, Tsunade reads the beam, releases the seal, restricts eye contact, and surges. Early edge goes to Hancock if that first test lands during setup. The longer Tsunade stabilizes her protocols, the worse Hancock's window gets. Now we simulate the clash in phases: opening gambit, mid-fight adaptation, and the final exchange. We move straight into live exchanges and how each kit forces or dodges the win condition. The fight, opening frame to final crack. If Miro lands first, is that checkmate? Or do Tsunade's focus routines deny the condition on reaction? We open clean. Phase 1 is neutral. Hancock dances for line of sight, offsetting her stance to frame a cone, then snaps mellow the moment Tsunade's posture offers a lane. Tsunade doesn't look. She pops the strength of 100 seal, lets the mark flood chakra, and drives in with explosive steps that chew distance and kill angles. Hancock hunts a compromised state. She feints with head tilts, plays the beauty shock for a micro stutter, and leans on her wide Miro mellow cone to test discipline. Tsunade counters by steering her gaze to shoulder lines and feet, not the face. She rips chunks of terrain, kicks dust, and throws debris to foul sight lines while forcing the clash into elbow range where setup is hardest. Phase 2, adaptation. Hancock pivots off the cone and fires slave arrow to saturate airspace with hundreds of heart-shaped shots, then threads pistol, kiss through gaps to tag Tsunade's approach. She spikes in with armament-laced perfume femur, spinning kicks that petrify contact points to punish overcommit. Tsunade answers with violence. She punches through the arrow cloud, breaks the projectile rhythm, and lets Katsuyu split to blanket splash and fairy micro heals. Her footwork corrals Hancock toward walls and craters that deny clean beams. Then she commits to one-hit kill zones, where a single step wrong equals a shattered guard. Technical beat. Tsunade's chakra-amped blows reduce entire buildings to rubble. A single kick carves craters, and her heaven kick of pain can destroy streets to dust on impact. One clean tag matters, because raw durability doesn't scale well into that. Edge case trimmed to the core. Partial or full, petrification is a binary threat window. Tsunade plays prevention. No direct gaze, neutral affect, constant pressure, rather than banking on reversal mid-state. Phase 3, attrition. Tsunade's auto-heal keeps tempo high. Hancock's observation buys time, but every whiffed mellow or wasted volley drains stamina and shrinks the status window. Then the shift. Tsunade lands a perfect shot, rhythm breaks, and Hancock's opportunity compresses with each reset. Hold that state change. We're ready to make the final call. Verdict, one absolute salute breaks. In a direct, informed duel where both know the other's win condition, Tsunade's medical fortress outlasts Hancock's status window. Creation, rebirth, and the strength of 100 keep her attacking while damage evaporates, and her chakra control helps maintain a neutral mindset that starves the impure thought trigger. One clean tag punishes any miss with overwhelming force. Why this counters petrification? If petrification functions as cellular damage, continuous regeneration rolls it back as it sets. If it's a state change, Tsunade's prevention and pressure deny the trigger. Hancock needs a single compromised heartbeat. Tsunade denies that frame and cracks back. The winner is Tsunade. Now it's your... What happens when a walking arsenal fights someone with no plan? Just perfect reactions. Erza Scarlet doesn't bring one weapon to a fight. She brings a war chest. Over 100 re-equip armors, each tailored for speed, flight, control, or brute force defense. You've seen Mikasa dodge bullets mid-air, but could she actually outread Erza Scarlet? Mikasa Ackerman turns cities into three-dimensional kill zones, and today she's hunting. Because if she can't land a hit, Erza doesn't just win. She deletes you in armor you've never even seen before. We're testing whether near precognitive instincts and Ackerman acceleration can break through a system built to counter everything. If Mikasa can't land a hit in 3 phases, it's over. But if she can, Erza might run out of answers. This is strategy versus instinct, toolkit versus killshot. So, how do you hit what lives in your blind spot? Which brings us to the core threat, Mikasa's 3D kill box.
No point.
She turns rooftops, alleys, and bell towers into a moving trap. Every ledge is an ambush lane. Every wall is a pivot. She draws you into angles you don't see until the blade is already past your guard. ODM mobility is controlled freefall with gas-propelled grapples. She drops the build speed, snaps a line to steal momentum, and fires a second anchor to swing across your center line. She can enter and exit a threat cone faster than most opponents can rotate their core. That's why her approach feels unfair. You swing at where she was, not where she's going. And Mikasa isn't just good at this. She's recognized as being as valuable as 100 average soldiers for a reason. Erza's raw power doesn't matter if she can't make contact. Early exchanges favor the soldier who reads momentum and punishes overcommitments. Mikasa does that on instinct. She forces a whiff, then caches the angle. Her standard Titan slaying route is surgical. Anchor high, dive to build speed on a downward arc. Snap a second line, pivot around the target's nape, and chain a micro-strafe to dodge counterswings. That sequence isn't flashy, it's efficient. It works on targets far larger and stronger than any human-scale foe, as seen from Trost onward when she stabilized the supply, HQ push, and protected key assets under pressure. Ackerman Awakening is the engine. It grants heightened fighting instincts and exceptional self-control, fueled by inherited battle experience from previous Ackerman through the paths. Stack that on top of brutal training and you get acceleration and reflexes that feel unfair. She doesn't waste motion, she stacks tempo. Think of ODM flow like a fighter jet dogfight inside an urban canyon. Altitude control sets your options. Energy management decides who stalls first. Vector swaps carve no-fly zones around the opponent's center line. If you drift into that band, she cashes in. Her reads look precognitive because she patterns you in real time. She baits a guard, feints a pass, and cuts off the escape before you commit. She's also adaptable with tools. Thunder Spears for standoff blasts, thrown and detonated with accuracy that outpaces their inventor. Early on, Mikasa probably lands the first touch. Nick the armor. Force distance, test reactions, stack tempo before counters come online. Now we test whether perfect execution can be denied by perfect counters.
If I could still guarantee their safety.
Erza answers momentum with options. The superior solution, Erza's adaptive warfare. What beats perfect execution? Perfect answers on demand. Erza doesn't hard counter once. She re-counters every new line you draw and keeps initiative while doing it. That's the difference between a clean opener and a fight you can't reset. Equip is the switchboard. Instant loadouts that shift stats and rules in a blink. Speed sets for quick draw exchanges. Flight sets to rewrite vertical play. Area control sets to choke space. And defense erasure when you need a clean finish. She swaps mid-swing. She rewrites the matchup mid-sentence. Her reputation as Titania in Fiore is built on that adaptability and sharp battlefield reads. So can she switch fast enough under pressure to deny Mikasa's best angles? Yes, because each set targets the layer Mikasa needs next. Kill the altitude, prune the roots, absorb the hit, cut the tether, then outrun the reset. Altitude control comes first. With flight armor, Erza meets Mikasa at the apex, erases the top-down arc, and turns dives into even-footed trades. When the sky lanes close, ODM spins more gas and anchors just to hold parity. clarity. Then we constrain approach. Flame Empress armor brings resistance to heat and lets Erza project pressure that narrows safe corridors. Heat near anchor points and along likely lines of travel makes those entries costly and unreliable. Impact insurance covers the panic pivot. Adamantine armor buys survivability against heavy blows and burst exchanges, letting Erza stay in the pocket through attacks that would finish human-scale opponents. Durability buys turns. Turns buy checkmates. Next is defense erasure. Nakagami armor cuts through defenses and interrupts momentum. If Mikasa commits to a tether and sling burst, this set punishes the line and the body on contact. Finally, we hit speed, parity. Clear Heart clothing strips to pure offense and speed, bringing blade fundamentals to the forefront once Mikasa risks close quarters. When draws get tight, Erza wins the cut. Sequence matters. Claim air, restrict routes, survive the spike, then finish fast. That's adaptive warfare at work, and it sets up our final goal.
Mikasa brings a flawless opening plan. Erza brings 100 closing arguments. Adaptive warfare favors the fighter who rewrites the map mid-fight, and Erza does that with documented tools. Flight armor to contest altitude, Clear Heart for speed and clean offense, Adamantine for damage soak, and Nakagami for defense break. That toolkit meets Mikasa's elite ODM, near precognitive reads, and Titan bisecting execution head-on, and still closes the door. We did see a clear power gap supported by feats, Erza's high-end destructive showings versus Mikasa's building scale outputs, but the deciding factor was option denial at speed. Tell us your armor rotation against ODM angles. The winner is Erza Scarlet. Subscribe and join as a member to see more battle analysis.